The galaxy believed it had seen every kind of war. It had seen planets burn, stars collapse, and empires fall. Nothing surprised it anymore. Or so it thought. That belief died on the day the stars went dark. It began quietly. At the edge of known space, deep-range sensors picked up strange readings. Not explosions. Not energy spikes. Just movement. Massive movement. Too large to be natural. An alien monitoring officer leaned closer to his screen. The data made no sense. "Confirm this," he said slowly. "How many signals?" The system responded after a pause. 900,000. The officer felt his breath stop. Warships. Human warships. Within minutes, similar reports arrived from thousands of systems. Every major sensor network detected the same thing. Fleets appearing from hidden space, old jump routes, and regions believed to be empty. The number never changed. 900,000. The galaxy panicked. Humanity had been silent for generations. Earth was scarred. Its power broken long ago by the same empire that now ruled the stars. Humans still existed, but they were divided, weakened, and quiet. Or so everyone believed. Now, an armada larger than anything in history was marching across space. And it carried only one mark. Earth. The ships were not identical. Some were massive dreadnoughts that could block out stars. Others were smaller, sharp, and fast. Many looked old, built with designs from forgotten wars. But they all moved together. Perfectly. No chatter. No battle songs. No threats. Only silence. In the capital world of the ruling empire, leaders gathered in emergency chambers. Holograms of the fleet filled the air, stretching beyond sight. One general laughed nervously. "They want revenge," he said. "They will rush in angry and die." Another leader was not smiling. "No," she said quietly. "Look at their speed. Their timing. This is not rage." She pointed at the data. "This is planning." As the human fleet advanced, something strange happened. Stars along their path began to dim. Navigation beacons failed. Long-range communication became unstable. It was as if space itself was holding its breath. Civilian ships pulled away from trade routes. Worlds shut their orbital gates. Fear spread faster than any message. Stories returned. Old ones. Stories about humans. They had always been different. They did not have the strongest bodies or the longest lives. What they had was patience. And memory. Far ahead of the fleet, the enemy empire prepared its defenses. Thousands of battle stations powered up. Planetary shields activated. Their own massive fleets took position near the border. They expected chaos. They expected noise. What they saw instead was order. The human armada slowed down. Not because it was afraid. Because it had arrived exactly when it planned to. The stars around the meeting point grew darker. Not fully gone, but dim, like candles about to die. Sensors struggled. Target locks failed. Time readings drifted slightly out of sync. Engineers reported errors they could not explain. "This area feels wrong," one whispered. On a distant neutral world, an old alien historian watched the events unfold. He had studied the human war long ago, before most records were destroyed. His hands shook. "They didn't come to fight," he said to no one. "They came to finish something." The human fleet stopped. 900,000 ships formed a vast wall of steel and shadow. Their lights dimmed. Their weapons stayed silent. The enemy fired a warning shot. A single beam of energy crossed space and vanished before reaching its target. The human fleet did not move. Another shot was fired. Again, nothing happened. Confusion turned into fear. "What are they waiting for?" a commander asked. No one answered. Inside the human flagship, No humans stood at command. Artificial minds guided the fleet, systems trained by generations of human thinkers, soldiers, and survivors. They carried memories of Earth burning, of cities falling, of promises broken. A countdown reached 0. And space changed. The stars did not explode. They dimmed. Light bent in strange ways. Shadows stretched too far. Enemy sensors screamed as reality itself shifted slightly out of place. Some ships lost orientation. Others lost power for a moment. Then a message spread across every open channel. Clear. Calm. Human. This is not an invasion, the voice said. This is not revenge. The galaxy listened in terror. This is the end of a lie. The message cut off. The human fleet began to move again. Slowly. Deliberately. And as it advanced, the galaxy finally understood something that should never have been forgotten. Humans do not rush into war. They prepare. They wait. And when they move, the stars themselves go dark. The ruling empire had crushed worlds before. They had faced rebellions, coalitions, and wars that lasted centuries. They believed they understood fear. They were wrong. As the human fleet held position in the darkened stars, panic spread through every level of the empire. Orders were shouted. Commands changed every minute. No one truly knew what to do. 900,000 warships waited in silence. That silence was heavier than any attack. In the Empire's central command world, the Supreme Council gathered. The chamber was filled with glowing maps showing the human armada, a vast shadow stretching across space. They are waiting, one general said. Why are they waiting? Another answered bitterly, because they can. The Empire rushed to prepare. Shipyards worked without rest. Old fleets were pulled from storage. New weapons were activated, some never tested before. Desperation replaced confidence. The enemy believed in numbers and firepower. They trusted destruction. Humans trusted something else. The Empire's scientists began reporting strange problems. Sensors showed human ships in multiple places at once. Time readings no longer matched. Some systems claimed the fleet had already passed them. Others claimed it had not yet arrived. Reality felt unstable. This is psychological warfare, a commander said. But deep down, he knew it was not. It was control. The Empire launched scout fleets toward the human armada. Hundreds of fast ships rushed forward, weapons charged. None returned. No explosions were detected. No wreckage found. They simply vanished. Fear spread through the ranks. Soldiers whispered old stories, stories their leaders had erased. Stories of humans who adapted too quickly, learned too fast, and never forgot a betrayal. The Empire ordered its main fleets forward. Thousands of warships formed battle lines near fortified systems. Planetary cannons locked onto the approaching human fleet. This ends now, the Supreme Commander declared. The order was given. Fire everything. Energy beams, missiles, gravity weapons, every tool of destruction the Empire possessed surged toward the human fleet. The galaxy watched. The human ships did not dodge. They did not raise shields. They did nothing. The attacks reached them. And stopped. Energy bent. Missiles drifted off course. Some weapons simply vanished as if erased from existence. A quiet shock spread through enemy command channels. What just happened? A scientist whispered the truth. They didn't block the attack. They removed it. The Empire realized too late that they were not facing weapons. They were facing systems designed to rewrite battles. As the enemy fleet struggled to understand what it had seen, human ships finally responded. Not with fire. With movement. The armada advanced slowly, passing through the wrecked attack zone untouched. Enemy ships tried to reposition, but their engines hesitated. Their systems lagged. Something was wrong. Inside enemy vessels, power fluctuated. Controls responded late. Communication delays grew worse with every second. The human fleet was interfering with time itself. Across the galaxy, neutral worlds watched in stunned silence. They had expected a war. Instead, they were watching the collapse of certainty. An old alien strategist spoke quietly on a public channel. "This is not a battle," he said. "This is an execution." The Empire made one last attempt at control. They sent a message. "Humanity," the transmission said. "We can negotiate." The human fleet did not answer. Instead, a single human ship moved forward. Smaller than the others, but sharp and precise. It stopped halfway between the fleets. A human signal spread across open space. "We are past negotiation." The Empire's leaders realized the truth. Humans were not here to destroy them in anger. They were here to remove them from history. As the fleets drifted closer, the Empire's weapons systems began to shut down on their own. Defense stations went dark. Planetary shields weakened. The enemy had prepared for a battle. But the humans had prepared for the end. Fear turned into silence across enemy channels. Officers stopped shouting. Soldiers stopped fighting. They watched. They waited. Because deep down, they understood something terrible. The humans had already won. And the worst part was not what the humans would do next. It was what they would not do. They would not rush. They would not waste effort. They would simply let the Empire fall under the weight of its own crimes. The stars around the fleets remained dim. Time felt heavy. And as the human armada continued forward, the galaxy realized this was only the beginning. The end had been prepared long ago. The enemy empire believed in weapons. They believed that enough firepower could solve any problem. Their history was written in destroyed worlds and broken fleets. When fear rose, they answered it with bigger guns. That belief ended here. As the human armada moved closer, the Empire made one final decision. Total attack. Every remaining fleet was ordered forward. Millions of weapons were charged at once. The space between the two forces lit up with energy and fire. The Empire unleashed everything. The galaxy watched, certain that no force could survive such power. The human fleet did not stop. The first wave of attacks reached them. And then something impossible happened. The weapons failed. Energy beams bent away as if space itself refused them. Missiles lost guidance and drifted harmlessly into the void. Gravity weapons collapsed in on themselves. Enemy commanders stared at their screens in horror. "Our weapons are not registering impact," one shouted. Another screamed, "They are ignoring physics." The truth was worse. Human technology was not blocking attacks. It was rewriting the battlefield. Invisible fields spread from human ships, quiet and precise. These fields reached into enemy systems and touched the very rules their weapons depended on. Triggers failed. Power cycles broke. Targeting logic became meaningless. Weapons became dead weight. The Empire tried to adapt. They changed frequencies. They altered attack patterns. They fired manually. Nothing worked. Human ships continued forward, untouched. For the first time in history, the Empire's greatest fleets were helpless. Inside the human formation, ancient systems awakened fully. Designs created by human engineers long dead adjusted in real time. Artificial minds shared data instantly across the armada. Every mistake the enemy made became a lesson. Every attack improved human defense. The Empire tried something desperate. They launched planet killers, weapons designed to tear worlds apart. The devices activated. Then they turned off. Every one of them. The galaxy went silent. If weapons could not be trusted, then nothing could. As panic spread, the human fleet finally responded. Not with destruction. With control. small human vessels detached from the main armada. They moved like shadows, slipping through disabled defenses and into enemy formations. They released no bombs. Instead, they released code. Enemy ships began to shut down from the inside. Lights went out. Engines died. Command bridges lost control. Crews found themselves floating in powerless vessels, alive but defeated. "This is impossible," an enemy admiral whispered. He was wrong. It was intentional. Humanity had learned long ago that winning a war was not about killing the enemy. It was about ending their ability to fight. Across the battlefield, thousands of enemy ships went dark. Some drifted together, some apart. None could resist. A few commanders ordered ramming attacks. Those ships never reached their targets. Human ships simply moved aside, as if predicting every action before it happened. On distant worlds, younger species watched with growing awe and fear. They realized the truth too late. Humans did not build weapons to destroy enemies. They built systems to make enemies irrelevant. A single enemy flagship, still operational, attempted to escape. Its engines burned at maximum output. It failed. Space twisted around the ship, slowing it to a crawl. Time itself seemed to stretch. The ship stopped. The human fleet passed it by. No one fired. No one needed to. The message was clear. Resistance was meaningless. The Empire's leaders finally understood what they were facing. This was not a war of strength. It was a war of understanding. And the humans understood everything. A human signal echoed across the battlefield. "You chose destruction," the voice said calmly. "We chose survival." The signal ended. The human fleet continued forward, leaving behind a sea of silent enemy ships. Weapons floated uselessly in space. The Empire had lost its greatest advantage. Fear turned into certainty. This was not a battle they could win. Because weapons meant nothing against an enemy who had already solved war itself. And as the human armada advanced deeper into enemy space, the galaxy realized the truth. This was not the end of a fight. It was the moment the fight stopped being possible. The galaxy believed war followed rules. Weapons fired. Shields failed. Fleets retreated or were destroyed. Every conflict, no matter how large, followed patterns learned over time. That belief ended the moment reality shifted. As the human armada advanced beyond the disabled enemy fleets, space itself began to behave strangely. Stars flickered. Distances felt wrong. Navigation systems showed errors that made no sense. Pilots reported the same thing across hundreds of ships. "It feels like we're moving, but not moving." The enemy empire noticed it too. Their remaining ships struggled to calculate positions. A target that should have been close appeared far away. Some systems showed the human fleet both ahead of them and behind them at the same time. Fear deepened. The humans had not just defeated weapons. They had changed the battlefield itself. Deep within the human flagship, ancient systems activated fully. These systems had names no living being remembered. They were built in secret, tested in silence, and sealed away when humanity fell. Now they were awake. A human-controlled zone expanded across space. Within it, human ships moved freely. Everyone else did not. Enemy vessels tried to turn around. They failed. Engines responded late. Controls lagged. Some ships felt heavier, as if an unseen force pressed down on them. Others felt light, too light. Time was no longer equal for all. An enemy captain watched in terror as his ship's chronometers disagreed with each other. One showed minutes passing. Another showed hours. "This is madness," he whispered. It was not madness. It was design. Humanity had learned that controlling space was not enough. They learned to control when space happened. The human fleet passed through the Empire's strongest defensive line without firing a single shot. Massive battle stations floated uselessly, their weapons locked in a different moment. From the outside, it looked as if the stations were frozen. From the inside, crews were trapped in endless seconds. The galaxy watched as the impossible became normal. The Empire's leaders attempted one last act of resistance. They ordered a mass retreat toward their capital systems. The order reached some ships. Others never received it. Signals traveled unevenly. Some arrived before they were sent. Others arrived too late. The Empire was losing control of time itself. On a neutral observation world, a group of scientists stared at the data in silence. One of them finally spoke. "They aren't winning the war," she said. "They're ending the concept of it." The shift spread. Human ships moved through enemy territory as if it were empty. Supply routes failed. Fleets that should have arrived together appeared days apart. Panic turned into confusion. Confusion turned into surrender. Some enemy commanders powered down their ships voluntarily, hoping the humans would spare them. Others prayed. Neither mattered. The human fleet did not attack those who stopped fighting. It simply moved past them. The target was not soldiers. It was the system that allowed the Empire to exist. At the heart of the Empire, ancient stargates began to fail. These gates connected their worlds and allowed their power to spread. One by one, the gates shut down. Not destroyed. Disconnected. The Empire was being isolated from itself. Worlds that had depended on central control suddenly found themselves alone. No reinforcements. No commands. No support. The Empire fractured in real time. The human fleet continued forward, untouched by the chaos it created. A final message echoed across enemy space. "You believed power came from force," the human voice said. "You believed control came from fear." Images of broken fleets and frozen stations appeared. "You were wrong." The message ended. The galaxy understood the shift had changed everything. No one could fight an enemy who controlled when and where the fight existed. No one could resist a force that did not seek destruction, only conclusion. The enemy empire began to fall without a final battle. Worlds declared independence. Fleets surrendered or drifted away. The center could not hold. As the human fleet reached the inner systems, stars slowly returned to normal brightness. The darkness lifted. But the damage was done. History had shifted. Not because of a weapon, but because humanity had changed the rules of reality itself. And the galaxy would never be the same again. The Empire was no longer fighting. It was collapsing. Across its vast territory, systems fell silent one by one. Fleets drifted powerless. Worlds waited in fear, unsure what would come next. At the center of it all, the human armada slowed. This was the moment the galaxy had been waiting for. Everyone expected destruction. They were wrong. As the human ships gathered near the enemy capital system, a signal spread across every channel, military, civilian, and hidden. The message did not come from a commander. It came from Earth. The image appeared first. A blue world, once full of life. Cities shining under sunlight. Oceans moving freely. Children laughing. Voices speaking hundreds of languages. Then the image changed. Fire. Orbital strikes. Continents burning. Atmosphere tearing apart. Earth dying. No words were spoken for a long moment. The galaxy watched in silence. Then a calm human voice began to speak. "This was our home," it said. "We did not rule the galaxy. We did not demand obedience." The image showed humans working beside other species. Trade. Science. Shared stars. We asked only to exist. The image changed again. "Earth, broken. And you chose to erase us." The voice did not rise. It did not shake. That made it worse. "We survived," the voice continued. "Not in bodies. Not in cities." The image shifted to hidden vaults. Silent machines deep beneath Earth's surface. Fleets sleeping in dark space. We survived in memory. The human fleet did not fire. Instead, it surrounded the capital system. The Empire's leaders gathered in fear. Their weapons were gone. Their fleets were gone. Their power meant nothing. They tried to speak. The humans did not respond. Instead, judgment began. Human systems activated across the Empire's core worlds. Energy grids shut down carefully, leaving life support active. Military factories went dark. Command networks collapsed. No planet burned. No civilians died. The Empire was stripped, not destroyed. Human drones descended onto the capital world. They carried no weapons. They carried records. Every crime. Every order. Every decision that led to Earth's destruction. The Empire's leaders were shown their own history. Not rewritten. Unchanged. You will not be erased, the human voice said. You will be remembered. The leaders begged. They offered surrender. They offered alliances. They offered knowledge. The response was simple. You already chose. The galaxy watched as the Empire's ruling council was removed from power, not killed, not punished with violence. They were isolated. Forever. Humanity built a single structure around the capital star. A prison of light and time. Inside it, the leaders would live, unable to act, unable to influence, forced to watch the galaxy move forward without them. This was Earth's judgment. Not revenge. Accountability. Across the Empire's former worlds, human messages followed. You are free, they said. You will govern yourselves. The Empire ceased to exist in a single cycle. No explosion. No final battle. Just an ending. The human fleet finally turned toward Earth. What remained of it? Machines descended into the broken atmosphere. They repaired, rebuilt, and reshaped the planet slowly. Not into what it was, but into something stronger. A living memorial. The galaxy realized something terrifying. Humanity had not returned to rule. It had returned to teach a lesson. Power taken by destruction would be undone. Justice delayed would still arrive. And Earth, silent for so long, had spoken again. The message was clear. Judgment did not need anger. It needed memory. The war ended without celebration. There were no victory songs, no raised flags, no cheers across the human fleet. When the Empire fell, humanity did not claim its place. It stepped back. The galaxy did not know how to react. For centuries, power had always replaced power. One empire fell, another rose. But this time, something different happened. Nothing replaced it. The human armada began to withdraw. One by one, warships turned away from former enemy worlds and vanished into deep space. The sight alone shocked every species watching. Humanity had the strength to rule everything. And chose not to. Across the galaxy, councils met in fear and confusion. Old enemies of humanity wondered if they were next. Young civilizations studied human records with wide eyes. The conclusion was the same everywhere. Humanity was not dangerous because it was strong. It was dangerous because it was restrained. On Earth, the planet continued to heal. Oceans returned slowly. Forests were replanted by machines guided by old human dreams. Ruins were preserved, not erased. They were reminders. Visitors from distant worlds came to see Earth, not as a capital, but as a warning written in stone and sky. This is where it began, guides would say. And where it ended. The human fleet did not disappear completely. It became a shadow force, watching, listening, waiting. Not to conquer. To prevent. Every major power in the galaxy felt it. Wars became smaller. Threats were spoken more carefully. No one wanted to repeat the mistake of the Empire. History began to change. children across alien worlds learned a new lesson. Humans were not loud. They were patient. And patience, when combined with memory, was unstoppable. In hidden archives, historians wrote about the day the stars went dark. They described the moment weapons failed, time bent, and an empire fell without fire. They named it the Human Return. But some chose another name. The Shock. Because it shocked every belief the galaxy had about power. A final human message was released, meant not for enemies, but for history itself. We were never gone, it said. We were waiting. The message spread across the stars and then fell silent. No demands followed. No threats. Only absence. And that absence changed everything. Without an empire to fear, systems learned to cooperate. Smaller species formed alliances. Old rivals chose peace over pride. The galaxy became cautious. Careful. Older. Time passed. Centuries later, humanity became a legend again. Not as destroyers, but as judges. Stories were told of the 900,000 warships that came for revenge and left without ruling. Of a species that lost its home and still chose restraint. And always, the final lesson remained. If humanity ever returned again, it would be because the galaxy forgot. Regret was no longer just memory. It was written into history itself. And the stars remembered.